Prince Ebrahim is a development economist with specialized expertise including cross-border investments, strategy and intelligence, risk, security, and settlements. He is also a market and economic analyst.
His Royal Highness is a precocious environmentalist and a keen philanthropist impacting communities and livelihoods across the African continent.
His Royal Highness Prince Ebrahim also serves as chairman and sits on the boards of several companies across Africa.
I want to ensure that Gambia becomes one of those countries where we have the highest number of youth millionaires in the continent. Africa is not a poor continent at all. Africa's poverty today is a mindset. Meaning, when we are on a marathon, relative period of time, that's only when you start looking back just to see how far have I gone.
The Sovereign Wealth Fund Institute takes pleasure in honoring His Royal Highness Prince Ebrahim Sanyang, a good fellow recognition for his contribution to the world.
We have His Royal Highness Prince Ebrahim Sanyang, H.R.H. Ebrahim Sanyang, the crowned custodian of historic Sonic Royal Realm, member of Chatham House, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, chief patron of the Royal Corinth Council, chairman of the board of Pan-African Youth Leadership Foundation, eminent chancellor of the Consular and Diplomatic Services University, Ghana, patron for International Youth Diplomacy Conference, patron for Confederation of West African Youths. These are some of the patronages that I have picked up from various things. It's an honor to welcome on stage His Royal Highness Ebrahim Sanyang. He is the 8th crowned custodian of the historical Sonyang Royal Realm that has almost 1,000 years of lineage. He is keen environmentalist and philanthropist who is invested in the future of citizens of Gambia. Your Highness, welcome to Good Talk. Your Highness, 7 years back, you were crowned Sibi Karang Mansa and become part of the history that goes back more than 700 years. Could you please elaborate us the unique position means to you and to your country?
First of all, I wish to extend my warmest gratitude to the organizers of this August gathering. I would like to extend salutation to our host, Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai, by extension, the leaders of the United Arab Emirates. Sheikh Mohammed is a mentor. I look up to him greatly. Also, further, yourself, Mr. Chairman, Sovereign Wealth Fund Institute, for the recognition. I bring the greetings from my elders and the people of the Gambia and at large our regional West African region. And finally, my warmest gratitude and humility to all present here. It is indeed an honor to be here. Mr. Chairman, what is so unique about a crown or a stool that I sat on as of 7 years ago? This is a stool that dates back over 1,000 years, going back to the time of the Mali Empire. But what's significant about it is today's Gambia, in today's Gambia's context, it's to show how a small Gambia in a global village is. Our uniqueness, a Gambia that is probably the safest country in mainland Africa, our achievements, Mr. Chairman. As you may or may not know, the richest man ever to live on this planet, Mansa Musa, is actually my direct lineage. We are the people of Mandin, and when you go to Gambia today, these are proud heritage, proud history, proud culture that manifest to an extent that the world refers to our tiny country as the smiling coast of Africa. So the uniqueness about it is the continuation of 1,000 years old tradition and heritage, really.
I understand you have various educational degrees, including masters in international diplomacy and business.
Yes.
Though being a royal, you are also professionally a development economist, specialized in cross-border investments and market analysis. In what ways do you believe education can contribute making a favorable decisions for your realm?
Education had been at the forefront of our evolutionary history. The first university, well before Oxford or Cambridge University, was built by my ancestors. This is very few people knew about this. That's Sankore University. Quite a lot of people misunderstood the establishment of first the university or the college in Morocco, where that was actually a madrasa. However, the first university with multidisciplinary establishment was actually built by my ancestors. Sankore University, otherwise now known as Timbuktu. These predate Oxford and Cambridge universities. Scholars from across the world will descend onto our people and seek knowledge from science, technology, to interplanetary studies. You know, space science is nothing new. If you go to the heart of where was the heart of our empire today, you will see that astrology and astronomy, the study of stars, had been well before, ahead of the invention of telescopes, etc. So education remains at the forefront of everything we do. We had used this education and interdisciplinary research to bring about a great deal of innovation and inventions that is today shaping the world. Although we don't usually get a great deal of credit on it, but yes, education is very key for us.
Thank you. So in 2017, you were honored with the West Africa's most outstanding youth. Can you elaborate on the visions on today's youth? And what's your forward-thinking approach in specifically related to Africa, being part of the system now?
When you look at Africa overall, we are the fastest growing economy in the world, the most resource-rich continent in the world. For example, Congo has got over $4 trillion of resources under the ground. That's one. Equally, great on the demographic dynamics. 60% of these African population are youth. These are the drivers of economy, right? So for us, it is absolutely priceless to empower those youth, to be able to mentor them for a more prosperous Africa, because they are the future leaders. In my part, what I did 7 years ago was creating cooperatives across. But these cooperatives were more along the lines of a cross-border cooperatives from Gambia all the way down to Sierra Leone. In this particular area, according to the Office of International Development and British Institute of International Development, we were losing some $2.4 billion annually leakages. And as a result of this research, I commissioned for an establishment of a youth-focused cooperatives where the youths will be empowered through microfinances and cooperatives, etc., for them to be able to then find sustainable income generating activities. In turn, that will have a domino effect for them in their disposable household income, their health, etc. I have extended this. Later down this year, in a month or so time, the Gambia will establish or will inaugurate a nationwide youth initiative. I'm looking to leverage some $2 billion because I have an ambition. I want to ensure that Gambia becomes one of those countries where we have the highest number of youth millionaires in the continent that will compete along other global partners. We are not going to be limiting ourselves to other developing nations. However, what I am looking forward to is to leapfrog our youth population, and I believe it has been done before. We will be able to achieve these initiatives. Mr. Chairman, today, Africa has the biggest trade bloc, $4 trillion economic bloc, Africa Free Continental Trade Area. Like I say, 60% of this $4 trillion annual market, bigger than the United States of America, bigger than the European Union combined with the Gulf states, okay? Our output on resources, natural resources, from oil and gas to minerals. We are now looking in the areas of, electric cars, electric vehicles, electric propelled mechanization. Some 90% of these resources are in that African continent. Yet, 60% of this continent are the youth. Unless we somehow, as leaders, bring our youth as a priority, I think it will be a missed opportunity for the future. That's why I'm very focused on the youth. Hence, what happened 7 years ago was a stepping stone to build for us to be able to move forward.
So what's your inspiration from where you got this? You came from a royal lineage, you have all the privileges in your life. You don't need to take this responsibility of doing things. You can just live your life. But something somewhere inside, a burning desire to do things for the people, for the country. What's your inspiration? Where does that come from?
I was once a shepherd. I love animals. I had horses. I used to leave home at a young age. By 7 years old, myself, I was rearing the animal, from cattle to sheep herding. Some of our wealth actually accumulate around these things. So I did not actually came up with a silver spoon in my mouth. The colonization has actually broken a lot of privileges, our histories and our values. The Gambia that we refer to today is a very young country. It was only from 1965. But before 1965, which is the independence, as they say in the case of United Arab Emirates as a young country, we had our structures and systems in place. What inspires me more is that myself, I did all the hard job that any normal person will do. As a shepherd, I will leave home at very early hours of the morning. I will take my sheep and I will also walk on my horsebacks. I've seen initiatives where I have to do peanut farming, and 3 months down the line, I would see the benefits of that once we harvest. So there had been a great deal of discipline that was instilled in me. But what actually inspired me is that having to see other young people that will come across or will cross paths, having to mentor them, having to see that they will now cross the threshold and become successful. Some of these young mentees are now among the Ivy League universities of the United States of America. Some of them are working along some of the global best medical scientific research institutions. And notwithstanding that, some of these young people are among the largest capital ratio institutions, including Islamic Development Bank, the World Bank. At my age, having to mentor these young people and seeing them driving global growth, not just national growth, global cooperation, not just Gambians cooperation, global collaborations, not just Gambia's collaboration. There are Gambians in the United Arab Emirates today who are doing brilliant, and I would like to see them do even more. They're contributing to United Arab Emirates economy, but also contributing back home, which obviously foster greater deal of prosperity, but also greater deal of cooperation. So that inspires me. That inspires me to see that a gathering like this.
What keeps you, awake? What's a problem, one single problem that always makes you linger? Something you should feel that you should contribute or you should dedicate your life or commit. Something you want to do for that. What is that one thing?
Mr. Chairman, you asked a very difficult question. But what keeps me awake is, I think, humans' potential. The ability to see that mankind, or the hope that mankind can be more tolerant, as we are seeing, can become more innovative, and break the boundaries beyond, let's say, ethnic, racial, and otherwise. These sort of things is a lifetime commitment for me personally, and by grace of God, I will continue to contribute my part towards a greater prosperity for humanity. It is very much sort of evolving around inspirations, not just mine alone, but inspirations from others across.
Your Royal Highness, given your position, you automatically come under media trial. You automatically come under controversies. You will be under pressure, whether you like it or you don't like it. How do you handle this? Because I have been observing you. I haven't seen somebody in your stature being very, very soft, kind, and that's extremely great, when I look at it. So something somewhere you might have learned to hold this one. So I want to know, how do you handle these controversies, media trials, or any type of negative comments? How do you handle these things?
Well, beyond the lenses of the world views, etc., I inherited values. Our greatest gift as a nation, since the time of the Mali Empire, beyond that, is our values. We have Futa, we have Cabo, we have Mali. These are all prosperous empires. We have the Jollof kingdoms and empires. Today, post-colonialism, what we are left with is our values. Our values. How I handle worldly matters or challenges, these values, they've ingrained discipline in me. Okay. And I realized that you ought to be the highest level of a person that serves your people, sends your highness. And in that position, you should be very accommodative of various opinions, criticisms, pressure, otherwise. If you put people at the forefront of everything you do, that is selfless service. And indeed, this had been inculcated in me since I was born, and it shall remain so. Trials and tribulations comes and go. Life continues. And what is more important for me in terms of handling challenges is to always keep your mind on how you can impact the lives and livelihood of your people through socio-economic development, through equality, among other things. But these are not anything new. They were already instilled on us as we grow. So that's how we handle it. Humility.
If you have all the resources, possible resources, accessible to you, where would you contribute? What would be one thing that you will choose to contribute those resources in the current ecosystem of the world?
I think that will have to be peace. Honorable Chairman, there will be no prosperity without peace. There will be no education in the absence of peace. There is not going to be no healthcare without peace. All the things that mankind today aspires to achieve for our lives and livelihoods to be better. Without peace, we can't achieve that. So for me, if you ask me, well, I think my priority would be to focus my energy, my life and livelihoods into peace building, wherever it may be, however way it will be. Peace.
Wow, thank you. Inspiring, really inspiring. Let's talk about the Prince Ebrahim Future Africa Foundation. It's a charitable foundation formed to uplift and install the African people a spirit of self-sufficiency and self-reliance. Can you throw some light on that, about that foundation?
Thank you. You mentioned about the self-sufficiency and self-reliance. You know, often, Honorable Chairman, the lenses on Africa is always about wildlife, poverty, starvation, not very nice things. But the very people who pull these lenses had been the very one that had been pretty much looting Africa's resources. Africa is not a poor continent at all. Africa's poverty today is a mindset. Today, as I mentioned to you, we build $4 trillion economy annually from Egypt all the way to Cape. $4 trillion. There is no part in this world that is resource rich economically, both on econometrics in terms of our macro and microeconomic level, that we can always argue, agree or disagree on policies. But the basis is self-reliance. So if we are to have some kind of attitudinal changes on the continent, and Africans believing in themselves and having to be self-reliant, I think for me, we will see a whole different Africa. So the Prince Ebrahim Foundation really want to focus on this whole slogan about self-reliance. We have abundant land where we can grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Beyond that, we can become a breadbasket of the world. There is nothing around the world that cannot grow in Africa. There is no resources in the world that is not in Africa. And we have a young population. We have intellectually sound society. The problems you see in Africa today are not created by Africans. They're not created by Africans. Sudan today, we have, unfortunately, this misunderstanding. As I said in my previous conversation, some of these things are not purely political, but the root cause is economic. Economic goes, social unrest comes in, and we have misunderstanding. So my focus is through a collaborative approach at our local level, government level, to governments alone cannot do this. We need to empower our people for them to become more self-reliant. And if we become self-reliant, I think this whole issue will be resolved. So the focus is we are helping young people in terms of vocational training, also mentorship into the sort of market where you are now for them to understand the dynamics of global financing, investment, and otherwise, and other areas too. So the foundation really focusing on these areas, self-reliance.
Since you touched tourism as an Africa,
Yes.
I understand when you talk Africa, everybody talks about only going as a tourist to see some of the wildlife, experience wildlife. That's what it is.
Yes.
I also understand that you're part of the 360 Africa 360 habitat.
Habitat, yes.
That's a part of this 54 countries, 54 African communities coming together. So what's your contribution and what do you think the future will be in that space?
I am funding through my foundation. By the way, the foundation doesn't accept any funding, so we don't accept donations. Everything within this foundation is actually from within the family, and the profits I make also into our investment. So, of course, we contribute that back. Now, the Africa 360 Habitat Program, as you know, unfortunately, we have lost a great deal of our fauna and flora across the continent. Desertification is eating us in gradually. Our biodiversity is degrading. Ecologically sensitive environment are being hampered through unregulated mining and other activities. So what did we do? We are now bringing in funding into community sensitization programs. We are putting funding into captive breeding programs where certain amount of wildlife that were lost in certain area, we will create captive breeding program to bring back those species, both plants and animals. And in the area of deforestation also, we know that climate change is a major, major, major issue. Gambia is the only country in the world that has adapted to the Paris Agreement on climate change. Number one, tens of thousands of mangroves have been planted across the length and breadth of the River Gambia. You know, we did not, as a country, claim this. The United Nations and others had also confirmed this. So in light of this, we want to commit into Africa's, this beautiful fauna and flora, not just for Africans, but for the world at large. Those, you know, priceless natural heritage, millions of products of evolution should not be endangered or lost. So the 360 Habitat is actually an initiative on the foundation to entrench these so that the world can also have a heritage that we can preserve.
Your Excellency, now I'm thrilled to ask, which is one of my favorite questions, what do you think about the African role in the current geopolitical situation? The world is going through a completely geopolitical change. The power-centric countries are changing the power-centric now. African continent as a continent will play a very vital role in deciding this. Being at the top, how do you look at this?
Yes, I mean, I think on the geopolitical challenges, what happens in Yemen has a domino effect in Banjul, in Gambia, within hours, right? That's why earlier I mentioned about a needed focus, a re-emergence and recommitment, or rather commitment towards global peace. However, we are interconnected global society, that's one. What affects one part of the world naturally affects the other. But we don't, personally, I am always, and I will continue to advocate for Gambia in particular, that we will not stand by and accept externalities to dictate the outcome of what challenges in our country. Hence this self-sufficiency aspect. Today, I looked at our national budget, for example. There had been a great deal of deficits, and I don't blame any of my leaders, the political leadership, for this. Every single president in Gambia had inherited a neo-colonial rule. Our poverty was not brought on us by ourselves. These are as a result of colonization. However, to fix this, the likes of yourselves, playing in the global capital market, having to put together today, for example, $250 million fund, to say that this is now going to, we want to put in $250 million to address our agricultural challenges. We want to go mechanization to produce every single grain of rice in this country, because they've been trying to do this for the past 50, 60 odd years. The multilateral institutions like the World Bank and the IMF will tell them, you cannot do that. This is what you're going to do, because as part of the PRSP and some of these structural adjustment programs, And if you want to go beyond the trade liberalization, where we are at the receiving end of dumping, subsidies from Europe is hurting us more than the aid that they give us. So the solution on that particular part, I'm saying that we are now recreating this to ensure that Gambia stays on that very steady path going forward. I'm not talking about probably 10 years or 1 year ago, but in moving forward, on the geopolitical side, we will create market, we will support markets. Where you benefit, we will benefit. Policymakers will bring about policies that will be favorable for the market conditions so that investors can also invest in our country and also gain equally. So as far as geopolitics is concerned, I think, like I said, we are in a globalized village. What happens in one part of the world affects us. However, solutions is also looking inward and bring about an alternative value proposition for growth and shared prosperity.
I want to end this with the last question. What's your favorite African quote and why? And you can say that in your mother tongue, whichever the African language it is, it's fine. We'd love to hear that quote and why.
They said that Nimboro Mame Homo Fellow Bukake. Meaning, when we are on a marathon for a relative period of time, that's only when you start looking back just to see how far have I go. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Royal Highness. Your vision and mission have been inspirational to us. It has been an honor and pleasure to have you on the stage today.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together in honoring Royal Highness Prince Ebrahim. Thank you so much.
And please, do visit Gambia. We would like to have them all to our country. My people are looking forward to
We take your
receiving
invitation.
you.